Hello and namaste, friends. Today I'm connecting with you about something that's really bothering me, that's concerning me as a woman and also as a mother of two daughters. For the past few days, I've been a bit disturbed about a new case that has been emerging from India, Kolkata particularly, about a gruesome rape and murder of a medical professional, a young medical professional in her own hospital. She had been brutally attacked and lost her life. So this is just another, like a new trigger. It's not something that has never happened before, and it's not something that's not happening right now. But this time it has really bothered me. It always concerns me and disturbs me to the point where I have to stop reading news, and because it personally affects me being a woman and also a mother of two daughters, it really, really concerns me. And I'm just wondering, when I'm connecting with you all, men and women alike, I would really like to get your thoughts on it, and I would really like to ask you to put your opinion, and just write to me, just make a comment about this particular issue, about women in general. And I am talking about the example that I used has happened in Kolkata, India, but it doesn't stay there. It's not a geographic boundary for crime against women. I have lived in Australia, many parts of Australia. I have lived in a couple of parts of America, and everywhere is the same thing. The intensity and the numbers are different. In India, the numbers are just staggering, just really, really crazy numbers. And there are other social problems as well that shows up in bigger number when it comes to crime against women. But in Australia, domestic violence is on the rise. It's not going down, it's on the rise. And then it concerns me, like, what more can we do? There are laws that are being made, more stringent laws, more more public awareness. And then I remember a time when my mother used to say that, oh, your generation is going to be so much better, and you guys are so much financially independent, so you would be better off, you'll have more rights and you'll be safer, and you'll just as women, you guys are more lucky. And I believe that we have been lucky, because I know my mom's story. She belonged to a very prosperous family, and it's ironic that people who are poor, who can't afford to send their kids to school, they couldn't educate their children. But in my mother's time, so just a last generation, because she came from a prestigious family, they didn't send their daughters to school to mingle with boys or to get educated with boys. So she had no choice but to be homeschooled. And so when it came to my generation, I went to a co-education throughout my life, and it seemed like things are going to get better. So with education, and then it came, only when women could be financially independent, then it would be fine, and they'll have equal rights and everything. Oh, women had the voting rights, women had the decision making power. Now slowly, not really there, but slowly we are getting that right. Women in the boardroom, when they are making more decisions, then it would get better. Women who are running for political positions, so more women we have, then more rights and all of that. So all these have been kind of put in place, and but also at the same time, like I feel like it's not enough, right? Whatever we are doing may not be working, because the case that I'm talking about in India right now, she was highly educated. She was a medical professional, a doctor, and she couldn't save herself from the brutality, the mindset that women can be used as an object, and violence against women are sort of now, in a way, it's part of just any other statistics. So it's really concerning. And for me, I have raised my daughters with no barriers or no obstacles or boundaries in terms of mindset. We never say to our daughter that because you are a girl you can do this or you can't do that. I believe that as human being, as fellow human being, we all have the same potential. It's just a matter of opportunity. It's just a matter of the society recognizing it, and And it's not just women supporting women, because there is also another theory that, oh, it's mostly the women who don't support other women, so then there is a problem. Even when women are coming together, it does seem like it's not enough. The laws that we have made, the opportunities that we are now providing is not enough. And when these kind of things happen, when these gruesome violence against women happen, it really concerns me. And I'm one of those people who's very optimistic. I believe that as humanity, we are getting better. We are becoming better humans. We are giving more rights to other people. We are bringing more people into this inclusive umbrella of humanity, and we are recognizing more rights every single day. So we are better off from how we were before. So what is happening? Why are these crimes against women increasing, not going down? And in Australia, where my daughter is, and where we live normally, that's our country, the domestic violence against women are on the rise. It's an epidemic. It's called an epidemic, and that is mind-boggling, isn't it? It's a developed country. It's in terms of freedom and rights and laws and legislations. I don't think there is anything lacking. So why this particular thing against women, and the attitude against women? So in a way, like I feel like I've gone through a list of things that we are doing, public policy, then bringing in this public awareness, and bringing men and boys in this campaign also. So, if you are listening to it, or if you are going to listen to it later, I am appealing particularly to men and boys who are watching this, or men and boys who actually think about what women's rights means. And I know there are a lot of arguments when I talk about this. A lot of people say, yeah, but men are also violated against, and there is sexual violence against men. Absolutely agree, there is. But if you look at the statistics between men and women, you would see what I'm talking about. It's disproportionate. It's disproportionately higher for women than men in any other case. And by raising women right issue, and by raising the issue of women's safety, I am not discarding, and I'm not discounting the fact that it's not happening against men. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, like, women in particular are so vulnerable. Women in particular feel like they can't be safe at work. They can't be safe walking home from work. They can't be safe at home. There are many places, I know quite a few countries where a girl child is somehow less desirable than a male child. So if a woman's birth itself is seen as something less desirable, then in that society, I can see why that kind of attitude against women would perpetuate, as if women's right and women's feeling and what we want and our desire and expectation and hopes from the society is somehow less than a man. I can totally understand that. But then you take this to a country where I think, there is no difference in attitude when a girl or a boy is born. Either is most welcome. Say, I'm giving example of Australia. Again, because it's my country, I feel like I can talk about it based on my experience. So even in the country where a girl child is as celebrated as a boy child or a male child, even there we are seeing increasing domestic violence. And then if you look at the indigenous versus non-indigenous women's right, we can't even go there. The kind of statistics, the scary statistics that can come from there is mind-boggling. In India, the Dalit women, women from the lowermost caste, if you understand the caste system in India, their situation is even worse. I am talking about situation of proper upper middle class educated women. Some of the cases that come out of these countries, or any country for that matter, I'm talking about these three countries, America, US and India, because I have lived there and I've been a part of that society. So I feel like I have a little bit more right and a little bit more understanding to talk about. But I really, I request you guys, if you're watching it, please send me your comment and send me your message about how you feel. Just even write about how you feel. Because at the moment I feel like I'm frustrated. I feel like I'm really angry. But worst of all, I feel like, am I going to lose hope while I'm alive in my lifetime? Am I going to see some substantial change? And if not, what can we do? What can we do while we are still here on earth? What can we do to change the situation, move the needle a little bit, even a little bit of action that we can take, or thoughts that we can put forward? Can that change? I'm quite happy to do the hard work, but where? I feel like I have gone through every possible scenario, every possible situation that could change how women live in fear, how women live in frustration, that despite having the same level of education, despite having the same level of skills and passion and attitude, everything, we still feel like there is this big obstacle one after the other. We take one step and there is this big obstacle in front of us. Then we take another step and then there is this big barrier. And then when we are angry, then somehow that's not acceptable either. I have seen, and you all know about this, when a celebrity, even, when they have achieved so much, and when they achieve something, and if they're not smiling, the journalist actually asks them to smile. So, we don't have the right to our own expression. In America, right now, or with all these debates going on, just to hear about the reproductive rights is not the right of the woman, but it's some old men deciding and dictating how women are going to exercise their most personal, private right to reproduce or not to reproduce, and how to manage their own reproductive health. That is mind-boggling, and it's so-called industrialized, modern, educated society. So what, I'm not actually trying to pinpoint and just say, these things, this crime against women are happening in this particular country or this particular city. I feel like it's all pervading, and I feel like it's as universal as crime against humanity in general, but some places are particularly more scary than other places. I have lived in Delhi, I've studied in Delhi for 6 years, and I'll tell you frankly, each time I go there, I don't feel like I'm safe, completely safe. And I know these are some of the controversial things to say, because then people have their own opinion because they feel safe where they are. And it's good for you if you feel safe where you are. But when the news like this hit us again and again, every few years we hear about even more brutality and even more violence, then where is hope? Where is hope for women, and where is hope for people like me who has 2 daughters? I have concerns. We raise them in a particular way. We have raised them, giving them this hope and this idea that if you work hard enough, and if you you are equal and you have the same rights as others, and then when they grow up and they go in the society and they find out that that's not the case, how do we deal with that? And there are some, like I have started to hear, and it's a very good thing. In India, there has been a campaign about Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao, as in educate your child and keep your child safe. So somehow the idea was that, if you educate your girls, then you'll keep your girls safe. But there is also another notion, I understand that there is also another notion about keeping your girl child, as in giving birth to your girl child and not killing her in your womb. So that was another, you can imagine, just even talking about that makes my anger grow. That we had to have a campaign to tell parents to keep their own child safe. So don't kill them in your womb. Don't kill them when you find out that you're going to give birth to a girl child, and get rid of her. So, all these things are building up since childhood, and I was very lucky to be brought up in a household where we were given all equal rights, and, we didn't have to worry about whether we are girls, so we can't do that. And we have been given all the opportunities that our parents could give us. So we had good education. We had, right from the very beginning at my house, the attitude was that of equality to women. But then when we went in the society after growing up, we saw something completely different. So then, since then, this conflict has been gripping me. And then when I moved to Australia, then somehow there was this notion that, it's a country where women are more educated in general. Per capita, women are more educated, they have more rights, and it's a democratic, a very modern, progressive society. To a certain extent it is, but then when I started understanding the statistics of violence against women in Australia, then there is a reason to lose hope. It's like, where else can we go? What kind of a society are we going to build, where this thing don't happen, where I don't hear about another gruesome, violent crime against women, and I don't fear for my daughters. When is that going to happen? And when I'm talking about my daughters, I'm not talking about just my daughters. I'm talking about daughters of the world, women of the world. Tomorrow in India, we have a festival. It's a festival called Rakhi, where women or girls, they tie a sacred thread on their brother's wrist. And the idea, the notion is that this is so that the brother pledges to protect their sister. So it's a beautiful festival, and I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. And but I'm just wondering, all these brothers and sons and men in the society, like when I say this thing, how do you feel about that? How do you react to that when there is this notion or idea that you are a part of women's safety, and we can't do it alone. Women can support other women, yes, that's needed, and I think to a certain extent a lot of women are doing it, but we need men, we need boys, we need our sons and fathers and friends, who are men. We need all of them to just sometimes take a few minutes of your time, maybe today, if you are watching, or if you are going to watch it later, just take some time out of your busy day and just give it a thought. Just spare us a thought. Just spare the half of humanity. If half of humanity is living under fear, doesn't have the equal right to express themselves, to wear what we want to wear, to say what we want to say, to live the way we want to live, why? If half of our society is languishing, is not reaching our full potential, are not living life the way we want to live, then how are we going to progress as a society, as a wholesome society? How are we going to progress? So these are the questions, and these are heavy-hitting questions. Usually I come up with something nice and pleasant and happy and hope, because that's who I am. That's who I am. I am a very optimistic person. I'm a very hopeful person. I'm a happy person. And I've been very lucky. I'm very grateful for everything that I have gotten. And in fact, the reason that I'm even talking to you is my confidence that was built during my childhood. My parents have given me this confidence that go ahead and prosper in the world, go in the society, make a difference in the society, be who you are, and flourish, get educated, get all the opportunities that you can. This is how I was raised, and I'm very, very thankful. And I'm very thankful to not only get educated as in an institution, but I have also been thankful for the kind of people that have come in my life. I have a wonderful, wonderful husband who is one of the greatest feminists I have seen. He believes in equal women right, and he believes that both his daughters are the most precious things in the world. So we are okay. We are okay. In my family, I am fine, and I believe that my daughters have the same level of confidence to go in the world and tackle with the world. But I don't think that's enough. Once they go out there, and in fact my older daughter, she's 24 now, and she reads these statistics and she looks at what's happening in the world. My 15-year-old has seen this case in Kolkata unfolding, and I can see her reaction when she hears about that. She just shrinks inside. And I see both my girls trying to say, what more can we do, Mom? What more can we do? And yet it's not happening. My older daughter is a medical student, and one of the things that she really gets concerned about every day is how little we understand about women's health, and how many times women have been just said, oh, it's just what happens, just go away, there's nothing, whereas they are actually suffering from some kind of a disease or some kind of problem. So, being a future doctor, one of the areas that she wants to work in is in gender health equality. So if in 2024, my daughter, the next generation, is still trying to think about, the need to work in gender health, the gender health is not equal. We are not even getting equal health opportunity. Forget about other things. Women, when there were women who were children, I remember my mom telling me those stories in particularly, families who were average or poor, or even in well-off families, women were not given dairy products. My mom had told me that, if there is, for example, 1 liter of milk in the house, most of it will go to the men, not to women. and it's the women who would be cooking the food and serving them that milk. And so I know it's all of those things are coming up today, but I really don't know. I feel like the one big emotion right now I have is anger. Do you feel the same? Did you read the news, or we are watching television where they're splashing this poor victim's face and why she was murdered and raped? And it's just one case that has happened recently, but there are so many women who are losing their lives. In India, I know, I have just read about the stats of 99 cases of rape reported every day, and we know that not all of them are being reported. Far from it. If a crime against a woman takes place, then it's victim blaming. Silence the woman. Tell the woman to not go to the police because, family prestige or whatever. Oh yeah, and that brings to this topic about a majority of crime against women are committed by men in their lives, by the men they know. Domestic violence, violence by their current partners or their future partners, or their ex-partners. They are killing them. They are, keeping them in fear. They are stalking them. They are not letting them live their life. What is this? And why is this? So when we are raising our girls and telling them, oh, please come home, early in the evening because I don't feel safe when we are out, who are we protecting them against? Who are we fearful of? What will happen when they go out? Who will actually harm them? Men, right? So if we start to teach our men how to behave when they go out, because I know a lot of women who have sons, they don't have the same concern as women who have daughters when the daughters are out late at night for any reason. I mean, they could actually go to entertain themselves. Why not? What's wrong with that? So even if women are going out to entertain themselves, we have to tell them to come back home early, but men can go, no problem. And which is fine, men should go, no problem. But the day when men are, when men are out there late night and women are out there late night and it's okay, and women come home safe and men come home safe, why can't we make that society? Why is that not possible? As I said, I remember growing up, only if women have education, then it'll be fine. Women have financial independence, then she'll be fine. And no, they're not fine. They are financially independent. They are more educated than ever. But is the crime against women going down? No. No, it's not. And it just makes me so frustrated. And I know I'm just, expressing my emotions out there today. Usually that's not my style. And that's not what I think my role is. My role is to be one of those people who spread happiness and optimism and hope. And I wish I had that around women's safety. I really wish I could be hopeful, when I talk about women and why we feel unsafe. There are countries, Afghanistan, or there are countries where women are deliberately being pulled out of school and they can't go and get their education. What kind of a humanity is this? And why? There are things when things start to look up, when we talk about women right, and then something happens and some new kind of legislation comes up, and then women are going to feel safe. And I remember the Nirbhaya case in Delhi quite a few years ago, and then all these new cases and new legislations came, and then people are thinking, oh, okay, now our women will be safe. Really? How many more women have to lose their life and lose their dignity? It's life. Of course, it's ultimate. They're losing their life and they're gone forever. But those women who are victims of sexual assault, victims of emotional assault, physical assault, they are living with it. They are living with it. I know a lot of my friends have gone through that. I am a victim of sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and I'm living with it. And I really hope that my daughters don't live with it. I really hope that. But looking by the way we are going, I don't know. I don't have that kind of hope now. And I really invite women who are listening, just tell me, have you experienced fear? Have you experienced some kind of violence against your privacy? Chances are majority of us have. A majority of women have experienced these things and we live with it. Those who died, they are gone. And so at least, their death could be some use the lives that are being lost, we could actually look at that and don't let it go in vain. Someone just died. A young girl with a promising future died. And when I talk about Nirbhaya, she was similarly a young girl with lots of promises and dreams. She was highly educated. She was working on having a career like all of us. And what did we do with their death? There were candle marches, there were vigils, some legislations changed, and I'm very thankful that that happened. But what I'm trying to say, or what I'm trying to grapple with, is like, why is it not changing then? What more can we do? Is that all we can do? Or is this how it's going to go forever and ever? I am concerned. I'm really concerned. I'm really disappointed. I'm frustrated, and I don't know. I'm helpless also. I'm, by any objective standard, I'm highly educated person. I'm very highly educated. I've got all the opportunities in the world. I have got a beautiful family. I have got a safe environment in my house and in my society. With all of those privileges, and I still feel like this. So this morning I thought, my goodness, I have everything. I have everything going for me. All the positive things happen to me. My life is better than my mother's life. I have been given all the opportunities that a woman can think of. I have a wonderful partner. I have beautiful children. I have everything going. And yet, I feel so angry, and I feel so frustrated, and I feel so disappointed, and I feel so hopeless. So then I'm wondering, those women who have nothing, who have less than me, how are they feeling? What's happening? Can I invite some of my male friends who are watching, male audience? You are someone's son, brother, husband, partner, whoever you are. Please, think about these things. Please just remember that if people like me, I consider myself as a privileged person, I have everything. I have all the comforts in the world, all the happiness in the world. And I feel like this. So I really invite all of you to just spare a moment, maybe a few minutes of your time today, and just give us a thought, give women in your life a thought, and maybe talk to them, and just see how they feel. Ask them if they feel scared. Ask them how they are listening to this news that's coming out. Let's just have a conversation. Just ask them how they feel. And if they feel angry and if they feel frustrated, listen to them, which is what I'm doing. But then I can, come up on the camera and go live and talk to you guys and express myself. And I feel like this is a big privilege as well. This is a humongous right that I'm exercising right now. And I am, I'm able to communicate. I'm able to tell you what's going on in my heart right now when I listen to all these things. A lot of women can't. A lot of women don't have the opportunity. A lot of women can't do what I'm doing right now. So, and I'm thinking about all of those women. I'm thinking about the women in the world, women who went missing, women who were killed, women who were raped, women who are subjected to torture every day in their own home. I'm thinking of all those women. And I'm thinking of all those women who, despite all of these, have come out stronger and are fighting their fight. And I'm just wondering, do we need to fight our fight every day? Do we? That's where I'm going to stop, because I feel like, venting like this is only going to go so far. But I also felt like it was important to express myself, and I invite all men and women to kindly express yourself. And I know a lot of you are writing on your post. I know a lot of videos are being circulated. They are all step in the right direction, but something more has to happen. Everything that we have done so far has taken us a little bit further. But then these kind of cases come up, and I feel like we have gone 10 steps backward again. So how do we, I have no answer. I really don't know what more can we do. If you have more wisdom than me, if you know what more can be done, please write to me. And I know a lot of people start demanding death penalty for the accused. Death penalty for 1 or 2 or 3 accused, do you think that's going to fix our problem? This problem is systemic. This problem is intergenerational. This problem is happening since time immemorial. It's not going to go away by hanging a bunch of men. And what are they representing? Just look at what they are representing. Those are the people who committed this crime. They don't see woman as a person, as a fellow human being. They see a woman as an object that they can use and abuse and kill and do whatever they want to do. So we are fighting against that attitude. We are not fighting against 1 or 2 men who are sick in their mind or uneducated or ignorant or who don't know how to behave with their women, who are not raised well. So that's something I believe. I don't have sons, so I can't raise my son the way I would have if I had a son. I have 2 daughters and I think I'm raising them well. I'm raising them to be strong, to express their opinion, to voice their opposition. If they don't like something, I want them to stand up for their rights. I want them to oppose where things should be opposed. And I want them to express their anger when they're angry. And I want them to also flourish and be happy and have the optimism and hope at the same time. And it's difficult. We know it's difficult. So what we are fighting here is much bigger than a few men who commit crime against women. It's not just that. So, when we are raising, I have heard a few people from India and I like that. I like when they say, oh, we are now raising our girls like our boys. Okay, but please raise your boys like your girls. I think that's going to make a bigger difference. Let's raise our boys like we raise our girls and see if something changes, see if that helps. And I know I've just thrown in one token statement. I know that's not going to change the world, but maybe if we try, and then our society and our leaders who we vote to bring in power, they have the duty also. So we can do something as individual, we can do something as groups of women coming together, groups of men actually joining the women and then helping women, whatever we need, whatever our desires are. And it's not like we can't do anything by ourselves. We are trying to, but I'm talking about the barriers. Despite trying, despite getting highly educated, despite getting financially independent, we are still there. There is still violence against women. There is crime against women. There are torture. Not equal rights. We are working the same amount of work, but we are not getting the same amount of pay. All those things. And somehow it becomes controversial. What's the controversy? What's the controversy here if we say that women should be paid equal for equal amount of work? What's the controversy there? When men and women, they both started going to work because women wanted equal rights to work. Yeah, we got the rights to work. But the duties at home were never taken away or never shared, right? Some people do. In my house, we have equal share of our duties. And that's why I say I'm one of the luckier ones. I am quite lucky to be a woman and to live freely and to be able to express myself and to live in a loving home. I'm very lucky. But not all women are that lucky. And I'm talking about those women. So all these, I have been so disturbed with this case unfolding in Calcutta. And it's not just that case I'm talking about. The fact that it keeps happening is something I just don't know what we can do about that. We can do a lot. I know there are steps. So people start talking about, changing attitude, women should report the violence against them, they should be raised in a certain way, and we should make laws, and we should go public policy should change. Yes, all of that, but where is the needle? Why is the needle not moving? A lot of people who don't live in India, they find it incredible when they read about dowry death. And I was a law student when I was in India still. I was a law student and we had a Tihar jail project, a legal aid project, and we went there. And I have met with people whose daughters have been burnt for dowry because they didn't bring enough money. And I'm not, and again, this is just it's not a one-off topic. It just shows the attitude about women. So when a woman is married, then she's supposed to bring all the stuff and, okay, So before, when women were not working, then your argument was that, okay, so now she's becoming a part of this new home, so then we have to provide for her, whatever, and she's not getting the rights in her property, in her parents' property, so then she's bringing dowry. There were many rationale that's been given to justify dowry. Yeah. And now I hear the same thing now. Women are now educated, they're financially independent, they are bringing in money, they're bringing in their salary, and yet there is a problem. So what more can a woman do? Getting educated, tick the box. Financially independent, tick the box. We know our rights, yes. What more? What more can we do so when my daughter, who is also a medical student, when she goes to work and I feel safe for her, when will that happen? And it's not just a medical student, that's just a case. Because she was a medical student, I'm talking about that. I'm giving the example. Women anywhere in any field of work, they choose to work in. They are not feeling safe. They are not feeling safe inside their home because their own partners are harassing them. When is that going to end? And I'm not delusional. I'm not hoping that one live session is going to change the situation. All I'm trying to do is add my voice. And I want all of you who are watching now or who will watch later, who may watch later, to add your voice also, please. I request. Add your voice. Just say when things need to be said. You know, supporting our women, yes, but also bringing in men to support women. We need more of that. I feel like I don't have anything left. I feel like I've vented enough, and I don't even know what I have talked about. I have just said everything that came from my heart, straight from my heart, raw, not scripted, not refined, not polished. This is what I had to say, and I said it, and I thank you so very much for this opportunity and this technology. I'm very thankful. So it doesn't matter where I live, and I'm still able to connect, and I'm still able to express myself. I'm very, very thankful. So one last appeal, please, let's do something about it. It's not, whatever we have done is not enough. We need more. And with that, I close this session. Thank you so very much. Thank you.